Well, good morning. Good morning. We will call this meeting to order on the 9th day of December 2025. We will begin this meeting with a moment of silent reflection for first responders and members of the armed forces, followed by our invocation by Indian River County Sheriff's Office Chaplain Louis Trofe, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by our County Administrator, Mr. John Tatanich. Please rise.
Father, as the last meeting of 2025 is about to begin, we acknowledge the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us this past year. And yet we also acknowledge that this has been somewhat of a difficult year. Amongst the blessings, there has been some conflict, some controversy, some division in this county. But worst of all, there was tragedy. The deaths of Sergeant Terry Matchcow and David Long has shaken us all to the core. As we enter into the new year, we pray for healing for the county, the community as a whole, and for the friends and family of the two precious souls that were lost on November 21st. And Lord, as we recognize this is the last meeting of 2025, it also marks the end of the 100-year anniversary of Vero Beach. For 100 years, your hand has been on this community, its leaders, and its citizens. Vero Beach is known for many positive things, and we pray for your continued blessings, wisdom, healing, and grace in 2026 and beyond. Lord, today when we came in, we see this 8-page agenda as we do each meeting. And I think of your word in James where it says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives it liberally and without reproach. So as the commissioners go through this agenda today, our prayer for them today and each day is that although their hearts plan a course, we pray that you establish their steps, guide them through each agenda and decision today and in the days ahead. We place this meeting in your hands and ask you to fill them with your wisdom and direct each decision. And we pray this in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me facing the flag. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Okay, Commissioners, this will lead us to any additions or deletions of today's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to delete 9N, simply GovPrize Enterprise agenda item, and we'll bring that back in January.
Okay, any others? Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, we have a second. Motion by Commissioner Fletcher and a second by Commissioner Moss. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have a presentation. We don't have any proclamations today, but the presentation today will be an update on maintain right-of-ways. As the Commission knows, we spoke about this 3 months ago, and today we have Interim Director Mr. Uli here. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners and Administration. Danny Uli, Assistant Public Works Director. Which one? You got it? Yeah, a couple of months ago, you asked for a presentation to give you information on the unmaintained roadways and unmaintained right-of-ways throughout the county. Working with staff, I have compiled some information for you. I put a presentation together to give you the overall brief of it. We do have more information that I'll be glad to share with each and every one of you at a further date, but I believe what you see in this presentation is what you were asking for. Right now, we have currently 405 miles of paved right-of-way or roads that we maintain. currently. We have 246 miles of dirt roads that we maintain and 129 miles of sidewalk that we maintain. The drainage and curb is 1,383 structures throughout the county with additional basins and pipes and other assets to go with that. So it's quite extensive. What we put together here on this slide, you can see is it's broke down by the county, North and South County, throughout all your districts. There's a total of, I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Apologies. The slide above is for what we're currently maintaining throughout the county, which costs over $3.6 million a year to maintain what we currently have. This next slide, because I believe I mentioned at the last meeting when we talked about this, the most important thing for this is going to be survey. Because it's unmaintained right-of-way, some of it is vegetative, trees, and it's existing trails that residents are using to get through. So it's not centered. We don't even know where these roadways or right-of-ways are in relation to survey. They're going to have to conduct a right-of-way survey on each and every one of these locations. Utilizing in-house survey crew, which is 3 people, we're estimating somewhere between 6 to 12 months just to do the survey work, because for this magnitude of project, they still have in-house duties that they're performing countywide, so it is going to be time-consuming. The expectations is the survey work will include staking a center line, pulling the edge of right-of-way lines, to give staff a better understanding of where the drainage swales and roadways should be placed. The following slide is an example of why the survey work is a critical point in this project. This roadway is in Wabasso, 64th Drive at 86 Lane. This, as you can see on the aerial, it does look like a road. It is titled a road, but this is an access driveway for the Baptist Church in Wabasso, and here with just in the less than 6 months, the owner of that property came to the county asking for permits because they would like to build a house on their property. This roadway, again, has been used since 1976 and considered a roadway by people in the area that is not a road. It's on private property and the gentleman wants to build a house. Just to give you an example of why survey is so important. This next slide is another example because this just come up within the last 60 days. This is in Grosvenor Estates. 15th Street Southwest, between 32nd and 33rd Avenue Southwest, we received information from residents that would like the county to block off 15th Street Southwest because too many people are using it for a pass-through through their neighborhood and other activities that the residents aren't happy with. Researching this, 15th Street Southwest is not a county right-of-way. It is not a county easement. It is private property. The 2 residents at the end of that street own that area that is being used now. The county has no maintenance, no jurisdiction for enforcement or anything in that area. So that's just a couple of examples of why the survey is going to be so important. 9.47 miles brought up to standard is going to cost the county $6,779,285.38. This includes putting in drainage swales, putting in drainage pipes, putting in drainage structures where needed. It will include undercutting the roadway with the substandard material that's in these right-of-ways currently and putting a stabilized foundation so we can put material on there. It's a large number, I understand, but please understand that this is to grade this road. This doesn't even include asphalt. This is to get it up to standard for our grader crews to maintain the roadways. The annual cost after bringing this 9.47 miles up, we have an estimated cost of $111,150.72 to continue the grading maintenance. Now, that as we stand now, there will be, of course, over time, if we go this route, that you're gonna have material and trucking costs to maintain these roadways from now on, once they are brought up to standard. We have it broke down. What you see on this slide is the length and the width, the estimated costs, and the timetable to get the road up to standard. We have additional lists, which I did not put in this presentation, to give you a breakdown of what all those costs incur per road, per section, per district. As you can see up here, you have Roseland Road, or excuse me, the Roseland area, $249,293, just for the, 5 roads in Roseland. Vero Lake Estates, we have a total of 4.43 miles of unmaintained right-of-way. The cost for those, $3,465,543. South County as a whole, we're looking at 4.3 miles with a little over $2.7 million. The Wabasso area, there's 2 streets up there, and you're looking at a combined cost for those two at $114,164. So there's different ways as a whole, we could break it down by district, we can break it down by area. It can be broke down and can be done. It's just, as you requested, important to know what it's gonna cost to do this. There's a lot to it. I know in the past, some people have come up and the statement was, residents are driving that now. Why don't you just grade it? Number one, we don't know what they're driving on. We don't know if it's county right-of-way or if it's private property. Number two, it's subpar material. That's why the calls come in about garbage trucks being stuck and UPS and FedEx, because they are not maintained, they are not meant to be used in the condition they're in. So yes, cars are driving it, the grader can grade it. You're right, they can, but it is not gonna hold up. You can't even measure it in weeks or days. Because of the material in place on most of these areas, it's not gonna work. There's a lot of work and effort that needs to go into this, and it can be done, don't get me wrong. The work can be done, but we need to figure out how we want to approach this county-wide and do what we need to do for the residents. Thank you.
Commissioners, any comments?
I think originally this was an item that I had brought, so I appreciate, Danny, you bringing it back in this form. This is what I kind of wanted to see. What I would like to do is have a follow-up conversation, Mr. Chair, and I don't know if you want to do that now or if you want me to bring something back under my matters at a later date, but I would like us to talk about, I mean, the numbers actually are a lot less than I thought they would be, to be completely honest. And I think that we should look into how we can implement taking on and fixing up these roads and adding them into our greater route. I think just maintaining them, I'm not asking, for things to be paved or milled, but I do think that maintaining these roads, because people are using them and they're using them in substandard condition, and it's just part of that, keeping up with our infrastructure as our growth happens. So I think we should look at a plan and then try to implement that in upcoming budgets to start, maybe there's some easier, quick wins within this, and maybe there's some longer-term problems because of the bigger nature of the size of the projects. But I would like to ask staff at some point to kind of develop a plan of implementation and then let's have a discussion about what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you. You know, and I appreciate that, Mr. Uli. And remember that these are today's dollars, something to keep in mind. And with respect to, as Commissioner Adams suggested, perhaps triaging, and I don't know, Danny, how you do that, whether it's the volume of complaints. Obviously, you and I have spoken about many repeated roads that seem to would make that. But the dilemma that we have is, as he mentioned, is private property. When we start talking about 33rd Avenue Southwest and 32nd, you have Amazon, Waste Management, UPS, and actually and garbage is obviously being picked up. That's actually on private property.
Correct.
So we have probably 4 or 5 different categories of what we're dealing with. So I agree that hopefully we could have this organized triage and have a funding plan for it.
If the board will allow me some more time, we can put it together and break it down that way by complaints, by areas, and what the issues are. Because the numerous complaints we get, some areas it's always the garbage trucks are where they're not supposed to be. Some of it is people, kids partying where they shouldn't be. We have various complaints, and breaking that down and putting a list together like that, so you guys can take a look at that, I think would be beneficial. Because there are some things that could be done by property owners that would help with this situation as well. So,
Danny, can you speak briefly on the chip and seal project?
yes, sir. We have our first test chip and seal project is going to take place on December 15th. Which is next week. It's on 8th Street. It's going to go from the edge of existing pavement to the east to 74th Avenue Bridge that FDOT just constructed. In-house staff has already did the prep work. We are completed with all our prep work, and we are ready to go with the contractor. And he is telling us and looking to have this done before Christmas.
So Commissioner, if you have an opportunity to check that out, this could be something that could help our friends in Oslo Park and other areas. And obviously, you'll keep track of the cost and with the overall plan that you'll be coming back to us with. Yes, Commissioner?
The chip and seal is going on 8th Street, which is in my district, and this has been a problem area consistently with the new bridge that got constructed at 74th and 8th Street. Cars slowing down, stopping because there's a stop sign there and the whole bit. And the millings just didn't hold up on a newly traveled road. So I'm eager to see how this turns out and we can use it in the future. But going back to the unmaintained roads, I think what, Mr. Chairman, what you and Commissioner Adams said is the way to go. We just need to look at it, prioritize it, and start moving ahead. It's going to be a long process. The surveys have got to be done, and we'll go from there. I'm all for it, yeah.
I had a question. If we were to do this, so this will help with maintenance then? You'll be maintaining them, they won't be paved?
They will not be paved,
They
no
won't be
ma'am.
paved?
No,
So
ma'am.
we're not putting down pavement. So what is involved then, if we were to do this, to bring them all up to this, what should we call it? They're not paved?
Up to standards, up to
Okay.
current standard, because that's the reason they're not maintained now is because they are substandard by
Okay.
far. We have to, first of all, the survey, then we have to put in drainage swales, culvert pipes where needed, structures where needed, because the water's gonna have to go someplace to go. For lack of better terms, right now, these unmaintained right-of-ways in that particular area, that is the drainage.
Okay.
So if we go in and bring these roads up to standard to maintain them, the water has to have somewhere to go. That's part of the cost in this, is getting the drainage work done as well, because without the drainage, anything we do to the road, we're just spinning our wheels and wasting money. So the drainage has to be done, and then we will bring the roads up. In a lot of the roads, we will undercut what's there because it's sugar sand. We can put 6 inches of stabilizer, or we can put a foot of stabilizer. That sugar sand is not gonna maintain and hold up that road. So we need to get that out of there, put a good stabilized base in, and then we'll put our stabilizer that we have on the rest of the roads, put 6 inches of that on top and start grading it.
So if we bring them up to standard, then what kind of maintenance is required to keep
They will be
them at that
graded.
level?
Right now, our graders throughout the county are on a 7 to 10-day turnaround. To get started, we can absorb what we start with because it's not going to be 9.5 miles. We will absorb that into our current grader routes with the graders in that area. And depending on how much we do at a time, you're talking about adding maybe 2 to 3 days to the existing grader route. What I envision happening is once we get into this program and we get more of the roads done, we're going to be looking at adding another grader at minimum.
Are there some areas, and I understand this idea of categorizing, because we've talked about this in the past, where we offer the option of paving the road, but that involves the homeowner wishing to do so, or a group of homeowners, and splitting the cost. Are there certain areas within what you've looked at where that might be a better solution with the homeowners' buy-in?
At this time, I would say no, because what we're looking at right now, everything has to be done from the bottom up. If we had a roadway that was, say, 60 to 65% meet standards, then that might be an option to talk about, because it would be less to get it up to standard. But right now, what staff and I have looked at and researched in this, we're nowhere near that on any of these roadways.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, if you know, why is it like this? Why do we have all these roads that are below, historically? Looking at it historically.
The growth of the county is a lot of where it comes from, because for many years, there was nobody on these roads. I can tell you fact, I've been here long enough, I remember in Vero Lake Estates, the northwest portion from 101st to 106th, and from 81st to 77th, we used to mow that with tractors. Not the right-of-way. The roads that these people are living on right now currently, we used to mow those with tractors.
I see.
And a lot of the roads down in Oslo Park are the same way.
So
We
that-
used to mow that. There were never roadway. It was a right-of-way on paper dedicated to the county, but there was never a need, a desire, or a reason to do anything with it.
So they're handling a level of traffic that they were not designed to handle.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because
They were never built.
no, they were never built, they were never structured, and in some cases, residents are using these right-of-ways when there's other ways to get to and from their residence. These roads that we're discussing right now do not have to be their sole in and out of their neighborhoods. It's just a quicker route because of growth. There's so many people in the neighborhoods now and so on the streets, these unmaintained right-of-ways, if you're willing to take the challenge, is a quicker way.
It's like water. Water finds the path of least resistance, and so does traffic. So.
Exactly.
And like in Fellsmere, a lot of the right-of-ways were roadways within the groves. And as the groves sold and then were divided up into smaller parcels, people started building houses in them, and then they would use those, what were tractor, paths for tractors as their driveways or their roads or whatever, and it just turned
That-
into a road.
That is a great example because as you know, Ms. Adams, the roads in Fellsmere off of South Willow especially, those are not road right-of-ways. None of those roads that we grade for the city of Fellsmere are county road right-of-ways. They are canal district maintenance right-of-ways. That's what they have always been since the inception of Fellsmere. They started building houses. They had to have a way in. Now it's a road. They have street signs, but if you look in the documents, they are not roads. They are still, to this day, 2025, canal maintenance right-of-ways.
Thank you. It's interesting to hear the history of it. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Moss. Mr. Administrator.
Danny, do any of these unmaintained right-of-ways, do they happen to coincide with areas where we've experienced flooding? So
Yes.
would the drainage improvements arguably alleviate and address some of the flooding concerns that we've had to deal with over the last several years?
Yes, sir, that would be correct.
Thank you.
And Mr. Administrator, I'm guessing you brought that up for potential funding from other sources?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners?
And I just appreciate the straight out, because there is a lot of complications here. Bear Lake Estates is a whole different dilemma. It was never developed properly. Yes, I drove on those grass roads. And the undercarriage of the vehicle used to cook the grass.
Yes.
Yes. As far as some of the other roadways, again, you've been painfully honest, but most of those roadways that were improperly done with poor substrate are going to have to be deeply excavated.
That is correct.
This is a big mission.
It is. But it can be done.
Can be done.
It can be done, yes, sir.
And most of the roadways were built on sugar sand or whatever was available at the time. And that's why we have a lot of washboarding 3 days after the roadway is graded.
In those aspects, yes. The right-of-ways that we're talking about, the reason they are sugar sand is a lot of this is natural Florida. These were never touched. When the development went in these areas, these specific right-of-ways were never touched. That is original Florida at its best. That's why you can drive down one block and see sugar sand and mud and muck, and then you'll have a 10-foot piece of decent material. To say they were constructed or poorly constructed, a lot of these have never been touched.
And you commented on the chip sealing on the 8th Street. That's from 74th
To the east,
to the east.
yes, sir.
Because we did a project there, I think it was in-house, about 10 years ago.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
90th to,
74th, yes, sir.
it's still holding up.
It's in place.
It's in place, yes. Yeah, it has fractured, yes, and when it was put in, that was the expectation.
Yeah.
That it was,
Well, as you said, sir, it's been 10
A
years. And yes, but that is on our radar. We are very excited and looking forward to this chip seal project on the east side. I'm hoping to have a lot of good information in a short amount of time, because that section you're referring to, in my opinion, would be test section number 2.
and the chip sealing is about 2/3 the price?
Yes, sir. The cost that we were looking at for paving and doing all the work for that same section of road with hot mix was a little over $2 million, and we are going to do this chip seal for $97,000. As I said, we have high hopes for this project. We
There's
are
already a bright light right there.
Yes, sir.
Thank
We'd
you.
like to do the west side too, if
Yes,
we can, but
to
we can see how
90.
the east side works out, because it's worse than the west side.
Mr. Chair, since we have Danny up here, I'd ask him to touch upon or just kind of highlight how our staff and what Danny and the traffic has been able to accomplish in terms of 58th and 77th, the intersection, which has been problematic. I know the Commissioner Flesher and residents have brought this forth, and Danny, you want to touch upon that?
Yes, sir. In fact, that light might be going active as we speak right now. There was a little pushback because of the weather conditions. We couldn't get the stop bars painted. But I was assured by staff yesterday that that would still be moving forward. Just for number's sake, so you understand that we have signalized 58th and 77th Street in less than 2 months. The big part of that is because this particular intersection, the infrastructure was 85 to 90% in place. The infrastructure that was lacking, I got with Road and Bridge staff and traffic staff and got them to work together. They got the remaining 15% of infrastructure put in place. We have the pad poured, the concrete, everything in-house, and the light is going active today. And
That
for
is
the,
outstanding.
we found documentation where this had been looked at because this intersection, you all may know, has been a problem for many years. When this came up again, we were researching that and we found documentation where it was going to be $3.5 million to signalize that intersection, the way that it was, they wanted to design it. But what you have right there now as we speak here at 77th and 58th looks just like 69th and 58th, just like other intersections within the county. So it meets code, it works, and we just put that light up for about $30,000.
So I'd like to thank Danny for his leadership. I'd like to thank Road and Bridge and Traffic for working together to bring a resolution to an unsafe condition and to address, I know, Commissioner Flesher's and the immediate residents' concerns in that area. We appreciate that. And I'd also like to add that Danny was able to cancel a design and engineering work order that was out there to the tune of, what, $125,000?
Yes, sir.
Check it out.
So, I mean, that's in-house innovation and dedication. We appreciate you, Road and Bridge, and Traffic.
Yes,
I couldn't be prouder of my staff all the way through because as I said and you just reiterated, this was all done in-house by Indian River County staff from start to finish.
Well, thank you, Danny. Any further
Thank you.
questions, commissioners? Thank you, Danny. We appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, Danny just brought up in-house. That's how 8th Street was done too, for $359,218, as opposed to $2.5 million.
Yes, sir.
That's the way to go, in-house.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
information and presentation. I look forward to seeing the next step.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Commissioners, that brings us to the approval of minutes for September 23rd, 2025.
Move approval.
We have-
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Fletcher, second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor? Aye. Next, Commissioners, we have the event calendar, the venue, which is in your backup, and it's online. Lots of exciting things coming up through the balance of the year. And also on 7B, the solid waste disposal district, the closing is noted for Christmas and New Year's. Essentially, your dates will be moved back one day. At that point, Commissioners, this is an opportunity for any public comment for any agenda-related matters. If the public has any comments, we can hear them now. Seeing none or hearing none, Commissioners, this will move us to the consent agenda. Any desire to pull and elaborate on any topics, Commissioners? Hearing none?
Yeah, move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Fletcher and a second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Commissioners, I do want to have the chairman's privilege of moving 14A, dealing with opioids up to 10B. If I can have a motion to approve that.
So moved.
I'll be happy to second.
We have a second. That, Commissioners, brings us to constitutional officers and governmental agencies, and I see amongst us is our Supervisor of Elections, Ms. Leslie Swan. Welcome.
Good morning, Chairman Lohr and Commissioners. I'm here today to request the funds that we received from conducting the City of Fellsmere and the City of Vero Beach elections, and a partial for the City of Sebastian, because they had a candidate withdraw from the election, but they were still charged for the work we did up to that point. So I wanted to see if we could have the $42,888.45 rolled back into our current budget.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Fletcher, second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion on this topic? Hearing none, all in favor? And the motion carries.
Thank you, and
Merry
wishing you
Christmas.
all a happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you. That brings us to the 14A that's moved to 10B on the opioid settlement. Do we have anyone here to speak of that?
Mr. Chair, I can
Yes.
introduce it, and yes, we do.
Yes, ma'am.
This is an item, we have a new round of opioid funding coming in, and this is kind of how we've tried to utilize this new process where we are trying to build upon our opioid task force's needs assessment. That was conducted. There was a request for applications for people and organizations who wanted to get funded, and it was also brought before the Public Safety Coordinating Council for Criminal Justice, Mental Health, and Substance Abuse, which we have set up to make recommendations to you about funding. So this is before you for your approval, but we do also have Amanda Busbin here from Southeast Florida Behavioral Network and Carrie from Thrive to answer questions. And I think maybe it would be helpful, Amanda, if you could go over kind of how the request for applications process happened.
Good morning, Amanda. If you can state your name and address for the record and affiliation.
Amanda Busbin, 472 Southwest 86 Terrace, Okeechobee, Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network.
Welcome.
Good morning. For the request for application during the last Public Safety Coordinating Council, or not this last, but back in the summer, it was decided that we were going to do an RFA for the funding that had not been spent down. We put out an RFA application, and in like a 10-day turnaround, we got it put together and put out on our website. We accepted applications until October 15th. We received 9 applications in total. Those applications went to a review board, which consisted of 4 members of the Indian River Opioid Task Force and 1 member of Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network with a 5-panel board. They reviewed the applications and scored them based on the material that was set forth in their application of what was found in the needs assessments, if they were going to meet one of the priorities that were identified through the opioid needs assessment that was done through the first round of funding with Thrive. Though of those applications, there were 6 that met the criteria to go to oral presentations. That was the second phase of the RFA application. Those applicants presented to that 5-panel committee and were scored on their presentation, their idea, the application to the needs assessment and priorities and how that fit into what the needs were for Indian River County. Of those, there were 5 that were picked and selected, and a subset of funding. They didn't approve any of them for the full amount. As you should have a report that tells you the amounts for each one. Those were presented, and that was what the review panel made the suggestion as what they felt like was proper, that brought the ask for 1.2 million of the funding for a 1-year application. And then next year we'll do it again and improve the process a little bit and try to do it a little bit earlier so we don't have a rush on it. We can make sure that everybody has the time and the need to make sure that applications can come, get fully created. It was a quick turnaround, but we did it, and I appreciate the opioid task force working so hard with us and making sure that we got it done.
We thank you, Amanda, and Commissioners, Commissioner Flesher is our attachment to that committee. If you have any thoughts or comments?
Public Safety Council, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to express my deep appreciation for this team. Amanda, you've done a tremendous job this year. I realized that we were behind the 8 ball when this first began. We also had a law enforcement officer as chair of the Public Safety Council, and we now are gifted with the very first civilian Public Safety Council chair, and appreciate the collaboration that has occurred, that this was almost seamless in the presenting, the vetting, the assessment of over $1 million in newfound additional funding. I'm very pleased that it's going in the direction it's going, and that we're going to get more education and assistance and mental health collaborative association with this process. It is, it's very difficult to identify, again, how the opioid funding will be directly impacted, or the community will be directly impacted, and we will reap the benefit. Well, the first part was the benefit that this commission did in enhancing your capacity, and now the identification that has taken place is absolutely impressive. And the support on the Public Safety Council was unanimous. Just wanted to note a few things.
And if I just might add a few words, Carrie Lester, CEO of Thrive and the Chair of Public Safety, is, I appreciate the process you put in place this year, and as Amanda shared, we're always looking for process improvement, and we'll continue to do that. But last week, we did have the privilege to present at the Public Safety and Behavioral Health Summit over in Tampa, and we spotlighted the way that in Indian River County, the Public Safety and the task force work together using needs assessment data and strategic priorities to bring forth the best recommendations to our Board of County Commissioners. So we did have that spotlight over in Tampa, and I think we have a good process in place that we will want to continue to improve upon, but we had a good foundation this year. So thank you for that.
Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question. How many people would you say are being helped by this? What does this dollar amount represent in terms of number of people helped?
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Amanda, because it's a difficult address.
It's a difficult to say at this point. When all of this funding is put into place and actions start happening and people are seeing, I can speak to one in particular, which in my realm of things, if you've been one person, you've done a lot. The 19th Judicial Circuit had a person who was a repeat offender. They got him into treatment. He completed, with this funding, successfully completed 30 days of treatment. He's doing well in court. Those are the things that this will, these are the people that hopefully its impact maybe years down the road, but that's less involvement with law enforcement, less involvement in hospital admissions, and those are the type of things that we're looking for in the long run. That's what this went into a lawsuit. We knew that we wouldn't be able to help all the people that were hurt in the first round, but maybe to change the route for someone going forward and their struggle with substance use and mental health disorders. So there are several ways that your county has put this into place. I'm very proud of Indian River County, and how they're moving, and that they prioritize the needs assessment, and they're using that to make informed decisions. In suit of Indian River doing a needs assessment, many of the other counties in our area, I'm connecting them with the same agency that Carrie worked with to complete the needs assessment, so they can follow suit. And that needs assessment will be, years down the road, we'll be looking back at this to make priority
Continue to be an
decisions.
ongoing process. And the strategic priority really was around access to care and what our current system of care looks like or is lacking. And so you'll see some of the funding priorities in front of you really help increase access to care. And then one thing that we'll start doing at Public Safety is really making sure that Public Safety is updated on the numbers and the outcomes and the impact. And so we'll start to see those more formal reports coming forward that will help drive our decision-making, but also help us step back and see objectively what improvements we are making. And I think that is the ultimate goal, is how do we change the system of care so that we can see those longer-term impacts and outcomes.
Okay, so that's a goal for the future, so to have certain metrics in place?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay, I was just curious, because looking at the one, the detox bed, $166,000, so you're just curious as to, or I am, like how many people are being helped, and not only by that, but by the entire amount. It's over $1 million.
Yeah, so all of those requests in front of you will start to be getting updated information throughout the course of the year on how the organizations are progressing in meeting the metrics they put forth in their grant request. So there were metrics that were put forward in each of the grant requests that were approved, I believe.
Right, and we'll be monitoring that, and the one thing about working with us is they're required to submit data. So we'll be monitoring that data. For the ones that we put in place previously, those are just really getting started. There were kinks to work out, but we'll be collecting data on that. We have the data from the judicial circuit, as that's mostly running through us. We're just paying for the treatment. And then, we did a public campaign. It's kind of hard to say how many people that touched as a guesstimate on those type of prevention efforts. But going forward with the system that we have in place and the specific applications that come in and that were recommended, there'll be very specific metrics. And then once we get those in place and we start, 2-3 months down the road, especially like detox beds, we'll be able to tell you every person that sat in that bed. So it may be different. We can't give you an estimate because some may sit there for 5 days, some may sit there for 2 days, depending on, the substance of choice and what they're doing. But we will be able to give you good numbers.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, one of the key elements in getting to that matrix is the advanced certification and consistency training that's going to take place broad scale. It's not just one individual. It's going to be, there's about over 100 estimated that will be working on the same plane from different entities and agencies, and will be able to assess the effectiveness. Is that appropriate?
Yes, one of those applications is for enhancing the peer workforce in Indian River County, and that will be assisting peers, up to 100 peers in Indian River County, getting the training, getting their needed hours that they have to, it's 500 hours, but they have to do in service before they can get their certification. And once they get those certification, those will be employees that you can bring into your workforce. Peer development it is an evidence-based practice. It is the best way to get individuals to agree to treatment. And I think it's gonna be very big for the agencies in Indian River County. Peers are being adapted in all types of services, not just substance use anymore. It kind of started there with mental health, but it's now doctor's office are hiring peers. It's the best way to talk to individuals where somebody explains it to them on a level that they understand, where they've been through that same circumstance. And I think that you're gonna see great things with having an actual workforce to pick from, where agencies can say, I had 2 or 3 applicants. I didn't just have to hire the one. Peers in hospitals, peers in doctor's office, peers in treatment facilities can make a big, big difference.
Yeah, and that was an identified priority from the needs assessment and identified to increase that workforce.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And commissioners and members of the public, it should be noted that these dollars are a result of a class action settlement for the opioid problems that America and others have faced throughout the years. This is a funding source that does not require tax-paying dollars. This is simply an exercise where Southeast is the conduit, if you will, and ultimately residents of Indian River County are benefiting, as Amanda so eloquently said.
And in addition, we have about 16 years to go on this funding, so it's very refreshing to have it going in the right direction so early on.
Absolutely.
And if I could just reiterate, there were great harms that were done that brought us to this litigation and these settlements. And so it's really important to me, and that's why I thank you so much for the process that we have in place, that we have an opportunity to truly change a system of care. And for anyone who's lost a loved one here in Indian River County, we want to assure them that we are going to do our best to make sure that those harms are remedied as best as they can be with these funds.
Thank you. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher and a second by Commissioner Ehrman. Any further discussions on this topic? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor? Aye, and the motion carries. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Carrie,
you.
Amanda.
Thank you, team.
Next, Commissioners, we have a legislative matter before us on item 11A, and this deals with the biosolids moratorium extension ordinance. And before us is County Attorney Christopher Hicks. Welcome, Mr. Hicks.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. We are back for the yearly renewal of the biosolids moratorium that started in 2018. As the statute is currently written, we have to come back every year. We cannot just do a blanket moratorium. And some good news about that is there is a new bill in place that is being considered at least to extend the moratorium or extend the inability of companies to put biosolids on land. That has not passed yet, but if they do pass that and it does say everything that we need it to say, we won't have to do this every year. But as we sit today, we still need to come back and make sure that people can't put sewage on their land. So we're asking the chair to open up the public hearing, take comment, and then consider the moratorium.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. At this time, public hearing is open. If anyone wants to discuss biosolids. Seeing none and hearing none, I will close the public meeting. Commissioners.
Move approval for the continuance of the moratorium on biosolids application in this county.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, a second by Commissioner Ehrman. Any further discussions on this topic? Hearing none and seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Commissioners, that brings us to item 11A2, which also is a legislative hearing, a public hearing to include the use of uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem assessments. General Counsel Schuler.
Mr. Chair and Board, we do this annually, and this is because we use the uniform method of collecting non-ad valorem assessments that is laid out in statute. We go through a process where for 4 weeks, we notice our intent to use that method, and then the board considers a resolution. If the board passes this resolution, then it is sent to our tax collector, property appraiser, and DOR, just to notify them that we intend to use this system. So my recommendation is that you conduct a public hearing for the proposed resolution and approve the attached resolution approving the use of the uniform method for the levy and collection of special assessments.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'll open public hearing for any comments on this particular matter. Hearing none or seeing none, I will close the public hearing on this particular topic.
Mr. Chair, move approval on the uniform collection.
I have a motion by Commissioner Adams and a second, I presume, by Commissioner Flesher. Any further discussions on this topic? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. And the motion carries. Next, Commissioners, is item 11A3. It's also legislative in nature. This is a public hearing on the ordinance amending our code of Indian River County, sections 102.01 subsection 1 and 102.01 subsection 4. This matter is legislative in matter. General Counsel Schuler.
Yes, a couple meetings ago, your county administrator brought before you some proposals on how to amend our code as far as how we deal with our procedures and policies mostly for this board agenda and what the process is. So this is an ordinance that I'm bringing back to you to enact those proposals that the county administrator brought before you. This would amend Section 102.011 of our code to clarify that the meetings of the Board of County Commissioners, the regular meetings, are on the first and third Tuesday of the month, and to require that an annual schedule of the regular meetings be approved by the board by the first meeting in November for the next year. The recommended amendments to 102.014 would add more specificity and when commissioners, constitutional officers, and other agencies submit agendas so that we can get them processed with some notice into our agenda management system, and also provides that the agenda packet will be provided to the commission on or before the close of business on the Thursday preceding a commission meeting. So my recommendation to you is that you conduct a public hearing and that you consider an ordinance that enacts these changes to your code.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll open public comment for anyone that wants to discuss essentially the codification of our ordinance, amending code Indian River County, sections 102.01 subsection 1 and 102.01 subsection 4. Anyone from the public have any comments? Hearing none and seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners. We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher, and we have a second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. And the motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Commissioners, next up is 11A4. This is a quasi-judicial matter. And this is a request to rezone approximately 1.5 acres from A1 Agricultural District to RM6 Residential Single Family District. The parties to the proceedings are Indian River County and Gladys Baston, the applicant. As this is quasi-judicial in nature, Commissioners, I'll ask each of you to disclose any ex parte communications, site visits, or independent investigations. And we'll start with Vice Chair Moss.
None of which I'm aware.
No.
No.
None that I'm aware of.
None that I'm aware of, sir.
None that I'm aware of. Let the record reflect. Second, since it is quasi-judicial, we will confirm that the Commissioners have an open mind and are able to base their decisions on the evidence presented and the applicable law. Vice Chair Moss.
Can and shall.
Can and will.
Can and will.
Can and will.
Can and will. At this point, we will open the public hearing for this quasi-judicial matter. For the clerk, if you could please swear in any and all witnesses that anticipate testifying today.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman
Morning.
and honorable commissioners of the board. For the record, Patrick Murphy, Chief of Long Range Planning. I'm here to present the next two items on the commission's agenda. The first of which is a rezoning for Ms. Gladys Baston's property. Property is approximately 1.5 acres. It's located on the north side of 16th Street, approximately 750 feet east of 74th Avenue. The applicant has lived on the property since 1975. This parcel has been zoned A1 agricultural use since back in about the mid-'70s from our original zoning atlas. Property resides in the State Road 60 corridor as defined in section 911.19 of the county's LDRs. Over the last 50 years, this area has seen a transition from mostly farmland to mostly single-family subdivisions. Directly north of the property are two A1 zone lots with single-family homes on them, established in the 70s. And farther north is undeveloped land zoned RM6, which is residential multifamily, allowing up to 6 units per acre. To the east is the Breezewood Park subdivision, zoned R6, platted in 1956. And further east lies the village of Lexington, zoned RM6, platted in 1986. To the south, across 16th Street, is the Point West East Village. It's a planned development, traditional neighborhood design. It's platted in 2006, and it consists of medium-density single-family homes. Adjacent to the west of the property is the Willow subdivision, zone RM8, which is a plat-over site plan approved in 2016. The subject site is surrounded entirely by residential uses, and there are no adjacent commercial or industrial zones, ensuring consistency with the locational criteria outlined in policy 1.43 of the comprehensive plan. As I said, the current zoning is A1, which is a low-density zoning district allowing 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres. The 1.5 acre parcel is currently undersized and considered a legal non-conforming use under the A1 standards. Proposed zoning RS6 is residential zoning allowing up to 6 units per acre. It's suited for residential infill development within the urban service area. The plan for this property, actually, speaking with the applicant, is she's intending on doing a one-time split and allowing the additional parcel to be sold to her son to build a home to be close to her. So it really would result in just 2 lots at a density of 1 unit per 0.75 acres each. A1 zoning is not currently permitted under the property's future land use designation, which is M1, medium residential. R6, however, is an appropriate implementing district for the M1 land use and would bring this parcel into conformity with the comprehensive plan. You can see in front of you a little side-by-side comparison of the development standards between A1 and RS6. So for analysis of any rezoning, we look at Chapter 902.12, subsection 3. In item A, it deals with the surrounding area and the development regulations in the county's Code of Ordinances. We found no conflicts with the applicable land development regulations requested for this zoning. It is appropriate within the M1 designation and consistent with the State Road 60 corridor regulations. Item B, the proposed rezoning is consistent with all elements of the comprehensive plan, aligning with the following policies: 4.1, 2.2, 1.13, 1.14, and 1.43. The proposed R6 zoning is consistent with the existing M1 future land use as stated. Amendment change is not required for this request. Items D through K, these items address design items related to land suitability, lot configuration and access, municipal services, environmental conditions, natural resources, compatibility and compliance with county plans. Staff has reviewed the surrounding area and found no conflicts with this zoning request. In conclusion and recommendation, the requested R6 zoning district is compatible with the surrounding area. It's consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the county's adopted comprehensive plan. It's consistent with the county's land development regulations. It is deemed suitable for the subject property and is supported by staff. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve this request to rezone the subject property from A1 to R6. Be happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant is also in attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Commissioners, any questions of Mr. Murphy? Hearing none, any presentations by the applicant? Hearing none or seeing none, any questions or concerns from the public? Yes, ma'am. Please identify yourself with name and address, please.
Debbie Apollinario, 7245 18th Street, Vero Beach. it sounds great. Her grandson wants to build a house. She wants to split the property and build a house on the property. What are the restrictions once it's rezoned to RS6? Can't she come back, or him, after she passes away, come back and put a mobile home park in there? If you've got an RS6 zoning, can't you?
Mr. Murphy, I don't believe so.
R6 district does not allow for mobile home parks. They would specifically need a residential mobile home zoning category for that.
Come back at a later date. If you have an RS6 zoning, can't you come back for an R8/mobile home at a future date? I'm just looking to preserve what we have. Our properties out there are one of the few places that we have the great horned owls, all of the birds of prey hang out there because we've got all the tall pines. I love that she's gonna split the property, but what are the restrictions that it will stay just split with one more home on the property? Is there any? Can you guarantee that? I don't know. It's a question, just asking.
Mr. Chair, if I could? For the record, Ryan Sweeney, Assistant Planning Development Services Director. No, ma'am, this is strictly rezoning. We can't limit or otherwise impose restrictions on splitting down the road, so to speak. However, it's only 1.5 acres, so to try to do a subdivision would be nearly impossible. They would have to aggregate the other parcels to do anything of substance.
But they could legally do 9 homes, 9
In
properties.
theory, they could, but again, there's other rules, roads, stormwater. The minute you get into subdividing, like I said, at 1.5 acres, I've been in the business for a while, it's not possible. I mean,
So there's no
maybe
guarantee, but,
That's correct.
okay. And we don't have anything less than R6.
We do have RS3, but that would not really be consistent with the M1 land use. That is what is currently the land use.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess, I went to Let's Talk Vero the other night, and we want to do something to preserve the agricultural lands and the citrus out west, and this just doesn't seem like we're doing that. This just seems like, another step that someone says, well, they let them do it. Let's do it on this property. I think it's important. But that's just my opinion. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, any questions or concerns for the staff or the applicant? Hearing none or seeing none, Mr. Murphy, do you have any final presentations?
Not for this project, no, sir.
And the applicant, any further questions or concerns? Seeing none or hearing none, Madam Clerk, we can ensure that all documents and tangible evidence, if any, have been admitted into evidence or in the hands of the clerk. Yes. At this point, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, this would be in my district, and I understand what she said about agriculture, but this is in an area that is near Point West. It's got some merit, but again, I'm going to reiterate what our assistant planning and director said, that this is not really feasible to extend anything beyond that. And so I'm comfortable with it. Planning and zoning approved at 6-0, correct?
Yes.
And I'm comfortable with it. And eventually we've got to, we're taking a hard look at all this through our EAR reports and everything else about where we're going in the future. I don't think this is a bad idea. She's able to split the property and do what she wants to with her family. And like I said, when I read it, I agree with Mr. Sweeney. I don't see anything else that really would be compatible unless you at all for this. So I'm good with it. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Urban.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fletcher. Any further discussion? Any comments?
The only thing is, Mr. Chair, hearing the concern, and I understand anytime there's going to be a change, but we do have good authority. Again, it cannot be a guarantee or a warranty that there will be no future changes, but by the same token, and the state affords us that opportunity as well. We're strictly directed by the state on what our parameters are. But more importantly is, it's a small piece of property that would never sustain that type of envisionment for development. So I feel comfortable. I think you got your answer today, and our Assistant Community Development Director has also made it a point to spell out a little bit of the concerns or the elements that would just simply not permit that type of advancement. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fletcher. We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor? Aye. And the motion passes. Commissioners, that brings us to item 11A5. This is the Shireen 510 LLC's request to rezone approximately plus or minus 1.04 acres from CL Limited Commercial District to CG General Commercial District. This is a quasi-judicial proceedings. The parties to the proceedings are Indian River County, as well as Shireen 510 LLC, the applicant. At this point, Commissioners, I will ask each of you to disclose any ex parte communications, site visits, or independent investigations.
None of which I'm aware.
None that I'm aware.
None?
And that I'm aware of, sir.
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Commissioners. At this point, we will confirm that Commissioners have an open mind and are able to base their decisions on the evidence presented by the applicable law. Vice Chair Moss.
Ken and Chow.
Can and will.
Can and will.
Can and will.
Can it will?
Thank you. At this point, we will open the public hearing. And at this point, we will also ask the clerk to swear in all interested parties. Thank you. And we will start the presentation with Mr. Murphy. Welcome again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Property is located at 4650 State Road 510. As you stated, it's roughly 1 acre in size and is located approximately 500 feet northeast of the intersection of 510 and US 1. Parcel's zoning was originally implemented through the 1975-1985 Indian River County Zoning Atlas and resides in the Wabasso corridor as defined in section 911.18 of the county's LDRs. Schwerin 510 LLC owns the adjacent 7.92 acres to the northeast, which are already zoned CG and represent the remaining undeveloped commercial holdings on the north side of State Road 510, east of US 1. North of the applicant's remaining CG zoned holdings is RM6, multiple family residential, developed with single-family homes and interspersed undeveloped parcels. Northwest of the site is the Coastal Community Church of Indian River. To the south, across State Road 510, is the Bridge Marketplace Shopping Center, which was approved in 2023 for development as retail. To the southwest is CL zoning. It continues along 510 toward US 1 intersection where a mobile / 7-Eleven convenience store and gas station anchors the corridor. Subject property fronts a designated arterial road, is situated near existing retail. 47th Avenue and 86th Street separate the RM6 zones lands to the north from this site, and it is not adjacent to any industrial districts, which ensures consistency with locational criteria outlined in policy 1.43 of the comprehensive plan. Existing versus proposed zoning, you see a slide to the side that does a comparison. The development standards between the zoning districts are essentially identical. It's the same lot width and size, the same setbacks, the same height, same building coverage and open space. The only real differences between the two would be additional allowable uses in CG as opposed to CL. The limited commercial zoning allows for low-intensity commercial and office uses. The general commercial allows for a broader range of commercial uses, including more intensive retail, service, and restaurant use, and aligns with the commercial redevelopment trends in the State Road 510 corridor. Both CL and CG zoning districts are implementing zoning districts under the property's CI, commercial industrial land use designation. Therefore, the proposed rezoning is consistent with the future land use designation. Staff found no conflicts with the applicable land development regulations for this requested CG zoning. The proposed zoning is compatible with all elements of the comprehensive plan, including policies 4.1, 2.2, 1.17, 1.18, and 1.43. The proposed CG zoning is consistent with the existing land use designation, therefore no amendment is necessary. We did a full analysis of items D through K. These are related to the land suitability, lot configuration, access, services, environmental conditions, and natural resources, and we found no conflicts with this minor upzoning that they've been requested. In conclusion and recommendation, the requested CG zoning district is compatible with the surrounding area, is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the county's adopted comprehensive plan. It's compliant with county's land development regulations. It's deemed suitable for the subject property and supported by staff. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve this request to rezone the subject property from CL to CG. And I would like to mention that the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend unanimous for this rezoning request. The applicant's representative is also in attendance, Mr. Bruce Marquette.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, I have a question.
Chair Moss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It says under item F in the backup that this zoning was implemented through the original 1975 to 1985 Indian River County Zoning Atlas.
Yes.
I wasn't familiar with that. Can you tell me what that is? And also, I tried to Google it to look at it, and it doesn't come up. It says it's not digital.
Correct.
And I looked on the county website, and I couldn't find it there either, which, is not a surprise, considering it goes back to 1975. But just what is it?
Yes, it's a very old atlas, a very large atlas that hasn't been digitized, hasn't been scanned. Ryan and I actually went over the archives this morning, pulled it out of the second-story building there. It's a very old color-coded map with hatch marks that shows the property originally was, I believe, C1A.
Correct.
Which has been converted, or the zoning designation was changed when we did a countywide designation change to CL. So it's the original zoning map that the county adopted back in the mid-'70s.
Okay, this piece of property is in there. Would we have a number of pieces of property in there? Just,
We have the entire county.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a look at
Yeah,
it.
it's
I'll take a look
neat.
at it at a later date.
Yeah, stop by the
We're just
office, we'd
curious
be
about
happy
that.
to go over the map with you, for sure.
The other thing is, this rezoning, I call it rezoning in the blind, because we don't know what it's going to become. I think we're going to discuss that perhaps in the future, and I think we need to avoid it in the future. But do we have any idea what this is going to become?
So we had conferred with the applicant and asked them what the reason for this rezoning was, and the applicant stated they were looking for the highest and best use. They're wanting to combine this property with the remainder of their holdings and sell this as one continuous CG zone property to a future developer. I believe the intended use may be some type of commercial retail, but the applicant representative is here, could probably speak more to the intentions of his client.
Yeah, because it also speaks to traffic, and I know traffic was mentioned here, and there were different scenarios. But I think also we don't go far enough out on the concerns with traffic, because especially in this area with 510 coming over that bridge and US 1 in that intersection, I've been through it many times, and there's always a lot of traffic. So depending upon what's being added, I guess what you're saying is you're going to look at it at a later date. But again, it puts us in the position of operating in the blind, and I really don't think that that's a good way to work.
When the future site plan is submitted, we take a very intense look at this project. We'll do a full traffic analysis and see what turning movements are, what impacts to the roadway may be. And then we'll have an exact use on the map to know what those traffic counts are. I will mention that across the street, there is going to be a traffic signal that will be installed When Bridge Marketplace opens, prior to their certificate of occupancy, that was already required as part of that site plan approval. Bridge Marketplace is actually a shopping center anchored by a Publix. It's just north of the Harbor Isle subdivision, and that is going to be required. That's going to help alleviate all your left-turn movements and be a stopgap from US 1 to further over the Wabasso Bridge. When they get to the point where they're about to finish, that signal has to be installed and operational before we allow a certificate of occupancy to be issued for that commercial plaza. That will certainly help this area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Moss. Commissioners, any further questions for Mr. Murphy? Hearing none, at this point, we will ask any questions or presentations by the applicant.
Councilor Rowe.
Good morning, sir. Name and occupation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Bruce Barquette. I represent the applicant, and I actually don't have a presentation, but support the staff recommendation. I can answer questions if you have any, I guess, but there's really no plans for the property other than what Mr. Murphy told you. It's just a consolidated minor rezoning to make the zoning compatible, to make the zoning consistent across the property, which is one of your goals for the Wabasso area, because without consistent zoning across larger parcels, it's hard to get property developed.
Thank you, Mr. Barquette. Commissioners, any questions of the applicant? At this point, we'll have final presentation. Mr. Murphy.
Nothing to add. Happy to answer questions that may pop up.
Thank you. Mr. Barquette, any further?
No, sir.
Hearing none. Madam Clerk, to ensure that all documents have been submitted, intangible evidence have been admitted as evidence, or in the hands of the clerk. The county staff is also assured that all the materials will be admitted into evidence unless there is any objections. Anyone from the public to discuss this matter? Seeing none and hearing none, I've closed the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion by Commissioner Flesher.
I'll be happy to second, and I'd just like to add for staff that I like the new format of these. It's much easier to follow than that whole graph thing we used to do.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. We have a second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. And the motion carries. At this time, it's 10:22. And we will take a recess until 10:30. The time now is 10:30, and we will resume the December 9th, 2025 Board of County Commissioner meetings. Up next is a presentation, Commissioners. 13H1 is a consideration of a sale agreement for the purchase of the 15.47 acre Osprey Estates. This site is through the Environmental Lands Acquisition Bond. Welcome.
Welcome, Commissioners. Wendy Swindell, Assistant Director, Parks, Recreation, Conservation. Come to you today to ask for consideration of a purchase-sale agreement for the Osprey Estates project. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on that. There we go. Can you make it so it's just, there we go. Technical difficulties. So just a little background for the public that may not be familiar with our bond process. In 2002, the residents of Indian River County passed a $50 million environmental land bond to purchase ecologically significant parcels. And just this process is a willing seller program, and anybody in the county can nominate these projects. And if you have any interest in that, please contact us because we're happy to walk you through that process. I don't know why I'm having trouble here. There we go. What? Whoopsie.
Maybe Max can figure it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, is it left click? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I'm left clicking and we're not working.
Do the clicker.
I did that. Oh, there we go. Okay. So just for the public to understand what we're looking for in these environmental acquisitions, we have an environmental land acquisition panel that is a 9-member group that reviews these projects on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. And these are the criteria that they look at. They are generally broken down into qualitative factors, which are more ecologically based, such as natural habitat, wildlife value, and landscape. And then we get into another set of criteria, which are the property acquisition considerations. And those deal more with the actual nuts and bolts of the land acquisition in terms of market conditions and other factors. Yeah, you just need to do this for me, that's all. Thank you. Nope, that's the previous. So this is the matrix that the ELAP uses, and you can see the 10 criteria on here. Each of these criteria is weighted based on a level of importance to the whole process, and then those cumulative scores are tallied by the ELAP, and that is in turn turned into a tiering system. The tiers are Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Tier 1 being those parcels that are deemed the highest ecological and acquisition value, and then you move into Tier 2 and Tier 3. A few weeks ago, the board approved a new set of Tier 1 properties. This is the last Tier 1 fee simple acquisition property through the first nomination period for the board to consider a purchase sale agreement. Next slide. So a little bit of information about Osprey Estates. You can see where it is located just to the south of the Gifford Dock. It is approximately 15.47 acres. You can see all of the public land adjacent to this property, which is quite extensive. So this piece of the puzzle would kind of fit that last part that would allow for the county to look at some improvements for the Gifford Dock as well as the adjoining conservation area. As I mentioned, this is a Tier 1 property. The size is 3 parcels with a total acreage of about 15 acres. The site is a prior mosquito impoundment that has since, it was zoned such that there could be homes along the eastern shoreline. The site is zoned Muni, which is residential single family. And our initial reports indicate that the mangroves on site are relatively undisturbed. However, there may be a need to improve some invasive species control and improve hydrology. As part of the acquisition process, we're required to go through and get 2 appraisals. So you can see the appraisals that were completed. The value conclusions were $1.53 million and $1.645 million. A purchase sale agreement was settled upon for $1.64 million. And then on October 22nd, the county went ahead and public noticed that process. The Environmental Lands Acquisition Panel has reviewed this site. Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to meet for them to provide you directly with their feedback, but throughout the process, they've been very supportive, especially considering all of the adjacent public lands. Should the board approve this purchase sale agreement, the county will have 60 days to complete the due diligence on the site, which will be used to ensure that there are no issues that would adversely affect the county's intended use of the property. Upon completion of the due diligence period, staff will provide the board with a summary of those findings for board to consider. If acquired, the proposed use of this property would be for environmental conservation and public recreation. As I've mentioned several times, there's an existing county park and fishing pier on the north side of the site. Given that location, staff feels that there's a unique opportunity for us to blend the use of that park with the conservation area. As I've mentioned, there's numerous county-owned and other conservation lands in proximity to this site. We have coordinated initially with the St. Johns River Water Management District, and they are definitely interested in doing some restoration on this site. They have lands in proximity to this. The site affords the opportunity also for habitat restoration. Most of these impoundments tend to have invasive species, at least along the edges where the water is a little bit shallower, and given its proximity to the Indian River Lagoon, that is an important factor. So as I mentioned, we do have a lot of opportunity, especially if we combine the use of this site with the adjacent park. We could create some additional nature trails. We could create some wetland overlooks, wildlife viewing, a lot of educational, environmental education and programming opportunities. And as we do with a lot of our conservation areas, we could certainly provide a lot of public benefit for volunteering. How is this project consistent with the environmental bond? If you read the resolution, one of the key elements is protecting habitat adjacent to the Indian River Lagoon. And this project, given its proximity, certainly meets that criteria. Wildlife that use those estuarine wetlands would benefit greatly, especially if we're able to reconnect the hydroperiod and that mangrove impoundment directly to the lagoon, which is something that the Water Management District is keen on doing, similar to what we did on the Oyster Bar Marsh project. We feel if we work in conjunction with the parks aspect of it to the north, that we can create a really unique, resilient project that will withstand future changing conditions in the lagoon. And as with all of our conservation areas, we feel like we can construct a lot of public access improvements for recreation and education that will really benefit the public. So our request today is to ask the board to approve the contract for the Osprey Estates and authorize staff to proceed with the due diligence period and complete the purchase of this project. With that, if I can answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners, and thank you for that presentation. It should be noted that in November of '22, overwhelmingly, the voters of Indian River County approved this environmental bond, the third, I believe, in the history of the county. So essentially, commissioners and friends in the audience, this is your property that we are talking about today. Additionally, commissioners, this is clearly an indication of one slice of growth management for within this county. And for that, we are greatly appreciative. I was mentioning to Commissioner Flesher on the break about some of the previous calls for service that we used to get at 45th and the river, so to speak, and Commissioner Ehrman's well aware of that as well. In my opinion, this is a great day for Indian River County. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, Wendy, can you go back to the slide that shows where it has all the other lands around it?
Oh, we gotta go down. I think it's like
Yeah,
the
where it
second or the
shows
third slide from the beginning
islands and the river.
that has all the adjacent areas.
Yes.
It's the first slide for the project.
It's Mac's first day, so he'll be all right.
No, next one. Keep going. I think it's a map after that one. There you go.
There we go. what the chairman just said, first of all, you have the Gifford Dock to the north of it, which has, to me, been sadly underused. It was never really a great place or destination. We have the opportunity with this property and the property across the river to turn this into something very special. This is a good piece of property because of, like I just said, where it is, where it's in conjunction with the other properties. It's right on the water. It's a low piece of property, and it gets a little higher, but it has a lot of great potential, as Wendy pointed out. This to me is a slam dunk for us to do it, and I think that's a pretty good price from what we've been seeing lately. And it's close into town for Vero or Sebastian, and there's just so much that can be done with this to make it a very nice area. Walking in, maybe some, you're probably gonna have to build some bridges, some walkways and stuff like that, obviously, but it has such great potential, and it has the potential finally to enhance the Gifford Dock, which I think the city of Vero Beach was even supposed to help us on, since we're allowing them to use that property for taking the water over to Johns Island. But yeah, I support this 100%, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Urban, a second by Commissioner Flesher. Any further discussion on this matter? Commissioner Flesher.
I did, because, once again, Joyman just brought it up, but the city of Vero Beach did commit, to an enhancement when they were
Yes, they
placing
did.
the lines in. And does this affect that at all? Is there any
doesn't.
impact?
In fact, it doesn't affect it in a negative way at all, because it allows the county the flexibility. If you've ever gone through the environmental permitting process,
Right.
having the ownership of the land to the south of the county park provides us the ability to look at those as one county holding. And from that point of view, if there were improvements that we needed to do beyond what has been recommended by the city, which at this point I believe is a pavilion that'll be there for the public to enjoy. The commissioners may in the future want to expand the amenities at the park, and by having the conservation area and the park situated in proximity to each other, that gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of how you plan that project and permit it.
Well, once again, it's well warranted, and you use the term slam dunk. Again,
That's a sporting term.
Well, I'll mention too that the St. Johns River Water Management District, through the MOU that we brought to you guys a few weeks ago, is very interested in coastal restoration, and this would be one of the projects that would be a slam dunk from a kickoff, because it's reconnecting that impoundment in a more favorable manner.
And as Sheriff indicated, we had been there
Time or two.
once or twice. This will be a great enhancement for the public.
Would there potentially be any park money, maybe, available?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Michael Zito, Deputy County Administrator. So this is a fantastic opportunity to blend this acquisition with the development of the park. And so we're looking at various sources to try and design and enhance the 45th Street Dock Park as we know it. But most importantly, we've been attending the meetings of the Gifford Progressive League to encourage the community to give us input on what they would like to see there, and then balance that with what we can afford to build in conjunction with the obligations that are still pending from the city of Vero Beach. So together, I think we can make something really nice there with everyone's input.
Thank you, Mr. Zito.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
Commissioners, the next item is item L under Utility Services. Actually, 13L1, Department of Utility Service Integrated Water Master Plan Quarter 2026 Update to the Indian River County Board of Commissioners. Project ID is 0023.54, and with us is Mr. Howard Richardson. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Howard Richards, Manager Capital Projects, Department of Utilities. Commissioners, I'm here to present, give you the third update on the Integrated Water Master Plan. So we are doing this Integrated Water Master Plan. The county is continuing to see population growth, a dynamic regulatory environment. Our infrastructure is aging. We're fairly young, but the infrastructure is beginning to age. And there's projection for resource uncertainty in the future. So we were years overdue for a water master plan, and the board approved HDR to perform an integrated water master plan for the department. Early into the project, a workshop was held with the management team to set these 8 goals for accomplishing the integrated water master plan. Goal number 1 is to forecast demand for utility services into the future over a 20-year horizon, define a program for managing infrastructure capacity and condition and sustainability that has become important as we continue to see increased growth within the county, define measurable levels of service going forward, create a 20-year capital improvement plan, facilitate two-way communication with stakeholders. That's very important, and I'll show you how we're carrying that throughout the master planning effort. Identify and pursue partnerships for continued collaboration, measure the finances and explore funding strategies out there, and support staff development and retention and augmentation of goals. HDR is following this EPA framework. It's called the Integrated Planning Framework by EPA. It ensures that the plan will be prioritized, adaptable, which is very important, and affordable to implement. It involves these 6 steps. Step number 1 is building the vision, and part of that was setting those 8 goals for the master plan, evaluating the existing system, which we're currently completing that, as I'll show in a few more slides. Engage community stakeholders, and this task is very important as it is being carried through for the entire planning effort. It's not just a one and done task. Evaluate alternatives. Once we determine what our capability of our existing systems are in future conditions, we have to look at the gap and determine how we close those gaps. Develop solutions and schedules, and implement and measure success. Again, I just want to emphasize that as we develop the capital improvement plan from the master plan, the criteria used for selecting and prioritizing those projects will be aligned with the board's 5 strategic goals and objectives. And this slide shows how each criteria aligns with what aspect of the strategic goals. This is a timeline we are on. We're currently going through hydraulic modeling updates right now. That has been a very extensive ongoing effort. We have begun to develop the 20-year CIP. We're at the early stages of that, and development of by looking at alternatives as well. So we are on track to complete this plan around mid-July of next year, and that shows currently where we are in that process. So what have we accomplished since the last update we gave in September? HDR has completed, well, almost completed the condition assessment of our current assets and infrastructure, including the plants, the demineralized concentrate facilities, repump stations, and lift stations, and they've looked at over 4,000 assets and developed a condition rating from 1 to 5, 1 being good, 5 being poor. And they've presented that to us in Power BI, which is a Microsoft visualization product.
And this picture here shows what that looks like. HDR is continuing to develop the linear and vertical asset risk scores from condition plus consequences is what gives us the risk. And they're summarizing all of that into a technical memorandum that will serve as a guidance for the wastewater basis of planning. And they've also looked at current regulations and pending regulations and future regulations because all of that has to factor into a 20-year CIP planning effort. So currently, they are continuing to finalize the risk assessments, finalize demand and flow projections. We've held a workshop that looked at drinking water alternatives as well as wastewater, continuing to polish out the hydraulic model calibration. That's important. A lot of effort is going into the hydraulic model because that is what's going to look at the capability of our current infrastructure to meet future demands and where we may come up short and have to make investments in new infrastructure to meet future conditions. They're in the early phases of developing the CIP, and we just wrapped up some outreach effort, and we're planning to do some additional outreach when we begin to start creating the CIP so we can present that to the public, i.e. doing a roadshow. So we're summarizing what we learned before so we can do a better job of outreach on the next round. So we also said that during this update, we will tell you how we are using contingency funds that you've approved us to use. When you approved the contract with HDR, you also approved $742,000 in contingency funds. And each time we tap that, we're going to report that to you. So the first use of it, actually this is the second use. When I presented the last time, I told you we were using that for hydraulic modeling development. We were going to use some of the contingency funds. We're still working through that, but the first one that is clearly defined is $38,000 use for strategic communications with the public. They've created some additional material for us to use, which we're going to use when we do the next set of public outreach. Again, they're continuing to work through the hydraulic model. They haven't finished the extra effort that is going into that, so that number has not yet been defined, so that will be another use of the contingency. And by the way, this $38,000 represents less than 2% of the overall budget. So we are doing very well on containing the use of contingency and managing the project budget. Again, this is continuing to show how demand projections is going to impact the hydraulic modeling. So that is my presentation, and with that, I'll take any questions that the board has.
Thank you, Howard. We do appreciate it. For the fellow commissioners as well as members of the public, please recognize that utilities is an enterprise fund. So don't be shocked when you hear certain numbers, particularly to taxpaying dollars. Enterprise fund simply funds itself. Commissioners, this is a presentation. We do not need a vote on this. Any discussion? Hearing none, thank you, Howard. Merry Christmas. Commissioners, moving forward to the solid waste district. Hopefully you've all had an opportunity to review electronically and in print the minutes from the September 23rd, 2025 SWID meeting minutes. We have a motion approved by Commissioner Flesher. I'll second that. Second by myself. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Commissioners, brings us to the Solid Waste District, item 16B1, work order number 10, the geotech for annual compliance monitoring and reporting for 2026. We have a motion by Commissioner Adams and a second by Commissioner Flesher. Any further discussions on that matter? All in favor? Aye. Commissioners, the next topic will be also under solid waste 16.B3, request for general fund funds for PACE, EH, and other community cleanup projects.
Move approval.
We have a motion by Commissioner Adams. I'll second that myself. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that matter? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Commissioners, that brings us to 16B4, Amendment Number 1 to the agreement for landfill gas well field expansion project.
Move approval.
A motion by Commissioner Fletcher. Have a second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion by the commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Commissioners, that brings us to item 16B5, Indian River County Landfill Work Order Number 2 to Geotech for partial closure design and landfill gas systems evaluation.
Move approval.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fletcher. We have a motion second by Commissioner Adams. Any further discussion by the commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, and the motion carries. Commissioners, the last portion of solid waste will be 16B6, which is the second amendment to solid waste and recyclable collection franchise agreement between SWID and Waste Management, Inc. of Florida. I believe we have a presentation. I see Director Sean Liskey present. Welcome, Mr. Liskey.
Morning, Commissioners. Sean Liskey, Director of the Department of Utility Services. Unfortunately, I'm not sure where Himanshu, the Solid Waste Managing Director, is at this point. I'm trying to locate him as he had a presentation to present to you this morning. So if you maybe take a 5-minute break, we'll see if I can locate him so we can kind of move forward.
With that, Commissioners, we will take a
Well, here he is.
There he is.
Sorry about that.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Himanshu Mehta, Solid Waste Disposal District. Apologize for the delay. I was in the other conference room. It's the first item.
No, we're on the last item.
16B6.
Waste management.
Waste management, okay. Thank you for approving all the other items. Okay. So we're here today to talk about the second amendment to the Waste Management franchise agreement. And as a result of the sort of the transition process over the last 3 months and beyond, apologize, I'm catching my breath from running to the conference room. So one of the things we came to the board back in June was to make some changes to the franchise agreement. And one of the reasons we did that was there was a lot of requests by HOA communities for opting out of the yard waste carts. So that was one of the items, and Waste Management agreed to do that. And the other item was that cart swaps, people that had the standard size carts, the 95-gallon for trash, 65-gallon for recycling. The original agreement basically said folks had to keep them for 90 days. And so we came to the commission back in June, and we also got agreement from Waste Management to move those cart swaps all the way to October 1st. And so one of the things as a result of that meeting was that we would come back to the commission, we would amend the agreement. And this is our first opportunity to amend the franchise agreement to incorporate those two changes. The other thing that started occurring, and I think most of the commissioners know with the phone calls and things that we had, is when the commercial communities, the commercial businesses started getting their invoices in the month of October, we started having a lot of concerns about the cost increase. And so we began a process of having meetings with Waste Management. County Administrator held a meeting with Waste Management to see what else could we do to reduce the financial impact to those commercial communities and businesses. And so this amendment also incorporates some of the additional negotiations that we've been able to do to reduce some of those fees. For example, the agreement that was signed with Waste Management, the original agreement, and what was put out in the RFP process basically had a lot of supplemental fees. One of them being, for example, rolling out recycling carts from multifamily communities. And the prices varied from different vendors. But the agreement that was approved with Waste Management, it was $10 to roll out a recycling cart per cart. I will admit, when we made the presentations, when the decisions were being made, staff did talk about commercial, impact and what those costs were, but it was really on a high global level, and we didn't get down into the weeds. And so I certainly stand here, apologize that we did not look at all those commercial rates and those supplemental fees down to a direct impact to these communities. And Waste Management recognized that as well. And so when those commercial bills started going out, especially like when I'm just talking about the $10 for rolling out a recycling cart, Waste Management sat down with us, and ultimately that fee has gone down to zero. And they realize that is just burdensome. The other supplemental fee that occurred was opening and closing gates. Our intent in these supplemental fees was, we knew there was going to be a cost increase, but if we could sort of break out some of these fees so that those folks that wanted what we call a la carte services, that they could pay for that, and it would reduce the impact to everyone. However, again, not recognizing when we made those earlier presentations of what kind of a financial impact this was going to be, opening and closing gates wound up being a big price tag for a lot of our communities, to the point where some businesses said, we're going to take the gates off, or we're going to have one of our workers kind of show up early in the morning and make sure the gate is open. And so there have been some concessions that folks are looking at, because every dollar right now is important, and we understand that. So one of the things in the negotiation process when it comes to these gate fees is Waste Management has changed from a per event to a per month cost, and also limited it to a maximum of sort of like 5 gates. We have some multifamily communities that could have 10, 15, 20 gates within a community. So they've said, we're going to cap it to maximum of 5 gates. It does depend on how frequently they're picking up, their dumpsters, but it is capped. So these have provided dramatic decreases to these communities. The one final note I'll mention in negotiation is, and it was a result of the meeting we had with the county administrator, that Waste Management basically said that they are by contract are supposed to ask, do you as a customer want this supplemental fee? Do you want us to open and close the gate for you? And they did not get that in writing. So what Waste Management has been doing is going back to those customers, confirming in writing if they want that extra service or not. If they don't, they will go back and refund them for October, November, and then say here in December they would not be, opening and closing the gates. Somebody else would take care of that. So I feel like we have achieved some good reductions for a lot of our communities, multifamily communities, a lot of our businesses. I say that, and at the same time, I want to mention, we did not have, this was a 10-year franchise agreement. We went out to bid. We made a decision almost 18 months before the contract was supposed to start. It was a competitive process. 5 companies responded, and the commercial rate that we had that slowly increased over the last 10 years, it dramatically increased. I think I put in here on the agenda item somewhere around 87% was the increase. So we had, out of the 5 companies, Waste Management was right in the middle. You had 2 companies that had a lower cubic yard rate, and 2 companies that were higher. But Waste Management was right in the middle. And so we just saw that over the 10-year horizon, prices increased and their commercial rates did go up. So a lot of businesses are feeling that increase, but again, it was done through a competitive process. It wasn't, there wasn't a mechanism for us to say, well, we want to pick this company to do residential work and this company to do commercial work because we like, the prices the way we want. It was one RFP. You're basically getting an exclusive residential franchise and an exclusive commercial franchise. So with that, I know I've said a lot. I'll pause here to see if you have any questions on any of the specific items. But again, what we have in front of you is to basically capture these changes into an updated franchise agreement. And again, some of the savings that I mentioned have already been implemented. So this is just to formalize the process and get the franchise agreement updated.
Well, thank you. Very informative, Himanshu. Any questions by the fellow commissioners? Yes.
I have a question. With the commercial supplemental rates then, it says in the backup material that Waste Management's commercial rates did increase by 93%.
93%.
And then we have the chart for the supplemental charges, original and revised. So is it still a 93% increase then, or is it less than that, based on this chart?
No, the 93% is still there. That was based on the competitive bid process. That if we looked at the rate that businesses were paying through September 30, 2025, starting October 1, those rates did go up 93%. And it was part of the procurement process. That's basically when you look at, I think over the 10 years with the consumer price index that we provided, we went through COVID as well during that 10-year horizon. We basically limited or controlled the increases that we provided WM over those 10 years. And so what we saw was by doing the procurement process that all 5 companies were substantially higher than in the past 10-year contract.
So with the changes that you've made that are reflected in the chart, do you have any kind of idea with regard to a percentage decrease in the rates that the commercial accounts will be paying? I understand it was an increase previous, but going forward, like just our range of savings.
So can I?
Mr. Administrator.
Yeah, so the rates actually are still at 93%. It's the supplemental fees. And I think to Himanshu's point, if the board will recall, very similar to utilities, over the last decade during this agreement, there was very limited increases in many respects, where even Waste Management requested an increase larger than what the contract called for because prices were exceeding typically in the solid waste and the utility field more than the actual CPI. And so I think when this was bid out, and I do agree that it was in the presentation, but there was so much focus and conversation, among our communities regarding the additional carts, as well as the increase in the residential side and the universal decision, that this got, I don't want to say placed in the back burner, but it didn't receive the same attention that the public brought out, when they showed up. So I think comparatively, Himanshu, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and Deborah can, Deb, I'm sorry, that comparatively, our commercial rates are very competitive within the county and our sister counties. So I think that's important. I understand that the rates went up, but I think it's because they were, for lack of a better term, they were suppressed by the desire to keep them low over the past decade and not increase, exorbitantly. And now we come to the end of a contract and the new contract gets negotiated. And we saw some, yes, there was one that I think was 88%, but there was others that were far greater. So I think that's the challenge for the county and our residents and our business owners, is that we kept the rates low, and now with the new contract, it kind of reset the table to where they are competitive, and actually they're cheaper than some others that have been negotiated not too long ago. And Himanshu and and Waste Management can either say yay or nay on that one. But I do have another question, Mr. Chair, for Himanshu and for Waste Management. And I noticed it this weekend after review, and I know I reviewed these and approved these, and it's related to the yard waste cart exemption. I guess my question is that Waste Management's agreeing to waive the one-time $100 fee for distribution for the roughly 5,000 carts. I would think it would be better served, since those carts are being paid for and they're on the existing routes, that fee still apply, but there not be any annual fee, because otherwise to me, it seems like we're double billing, because one community has said, we don't want them. So those are in our inventory and they're on our routes already. And I think it'd be better to have the fee to deliver somebody that wants the cart, but not have to pay for that cart because it's already been paid for. And I'll leave that for the board's discussion and then maybe a response.
Himanshu, any thoughts on administrator's comments?
John, if I want to just clarify, I understood the question. So we have estimated about 5,000 carts that were.
First come, first serve.
Were not delivered because they wanted an exemption. We are obligated to collect the money because it's through the non-ad valorem assessment program. So on the tax bill, the assessment portion, we're collecting from those residents, and by franchise agreement, we're obligated to pay Waste Management for agreeing to basically have a truck and a driver ready to go serve that community every day. It's the community that opted that says, we don't want this service. It's no different than the previous franchise agreement. These communities that had their own yard waste companies, when they were subscription service, they were paying for yard waste service in their direct billing by Waste Management. However, they chose not to invite Waste Management into their community to pick up yard waste because they had their own landscaper taking care of it. The only difference now is by going to Universal, we placed it on the non-ad valorem assessment. And we provided that benefit to these communities by basically saying, okay, you're agreeing to be exempt. We were able to, for a majority of them, we're able to actually stop delivery of the carts, so they didn't even have to experience receiving the carts. And now they don't have a truck going through their community. But they have elected not to get that. The waiving of the $100, I think that's what you were asking about. So what Waste Management has agreed is that if there's, within this 1 year time frame, if there are an additional 5,000 residents outside of those communities that feel that one yard waste cart is not enough, that they want a second yard waste cart, that there is right now in the franchise agreement, a $100 fee for that delivery. Waste Management is agreeing to waive that for up to 5,000 residents that want a second yard waste cart, as long as that customer agrees to pay the additional $10 a month fee for having a second, yard waste cart. So that's what's in the amendment in terms of the benefit the exempt communities are getting, the benefit that other community members could have if they want a second yard waste cart. However, I just want to make sure I understood, I don't have a mechanism to somehow reduce the billing for those HOA exempt communities through the.
So I understand that.
Through the
That's what I'm
property
saying.
appraiser or
Those
tax bill
carts are actually, those 5,000 carts are being paid for as they're being paid throughout the year on the non-ad valorem assessment.
Sure.
So it seems like it would be better to waive that fee and just, if first come, first serve, there's 5,000 carts that are already being paid for through the non-ad valorem assessment, and they pay to have the cart dropped off, first come, first serve, that $100 fee, and they don't pay the $120 per year. I just think because they're getting paid through the non-ad valorem assessment.
I got you. What I would clarify is the difference in price. What on the rate sheet is about $3.86 out of the $14.10, if you will, is what an individual resident is contributing to the Waste Management bill, $3.86. The additional cart is $10 a month. So there is that cost difference as well. The 100, you're asking to waive the $120 up to for 5,000 customers. I mean, I can have, hopefully, WM's in the back, ready to respond as well. But there is a cost differential. The yard waste component is, if you look in Exhibit 1, it's, it's $698 for solid waste, $386 for yard waste, and $318 for bulk trash. That comes up to the $1,402 per month that we pay Waste Management. That's what, we have the additional fees by the property appraiser and the tax collector on the tax bill. I think it's more like $15 is what we're coming up to. But what I'm trying to explain is that those residents in those communities, those 5,000 residents, are paying for yard waste service, the $3, but it's only $3.86. So if we say to Waste Management, the first 5,000 customers that come in, go ahead and provide them the yard waste card because you're getting paid already. I see what you're saying, but there is we would have to have them basically say that you're getting paid for those 5,000 cards, equal amount to what we're already paying you for those 5,000 customers, not the $10 extra fee that you're allowed to have for somebody that has two yard waste cards.
I would think after the 5,000, first come, first served, then that other fee would kick in.
I see what you're saying, but.
Right. And you would, and I think, Mr. Administrator, I appreciate that. And what you're saying basically is the 5,000 and first customer would roll it back into what Himanshu said. I understand the administrator by saying those 5,000 have already essentially paid for it in lieu of the others that may desire. His point is that Waste Management is already getting paid by those 5,000 that aren't receiving the services. And I don't know if a member from Waste Management wants to discuss that or not.
Gang, I do apologize. It was Sunday evening, we're prepping for this meeting.
Sure.
I know I reviewed the agenda, but as I read that and reread that, I talked to the chair about it, and I just said, it just kind of like stuck with me, so I'll.
Good morning, Luigi Pace with WM. Unfortunately, I don't have the authority to agree to changes from what we had initially spoken with Himanshu about and negotiated there. If that's the desire of the commission, I'd have to go back and get permission and approval to make that change.
Commissioners, what's your flavor? You rather bring this back next month?
Sure, why
not? This is an action item, Commissioners. If somebody would like to motion that we bring this back in January, I think it needs further discussion between the administrator and the solid waste staff.
Mr. Chair, so moved. I believe it would be appropriate and best interest in the public and our.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second by Commissioner Moss. Any further discussion on this topic?
Yeah, Commissioners, if I may, again, Sean Leesky, Director of Utilities Services. We did discuss this when we had negotiations with WM, and this was brought up, and I think that the struggle, and Himanshu was trying to get to this, is what they were suggesting is $10 per month for the additional cart, where it's $386 on the existing. So yes, somebody has already paid $386 for that cart, but there's a difference of about $625 that would have to be covered for that second additional cart. So the billing becomes very problematic and difficult, I think, and I think the thought was it makes sense just for ease and managing and also an ease in saying, okay, well, what the 501st is going to have to pay 120, where everyone else is getting a benefit. I think we had agreed that we would just keep it at the $120. So. Just wanted to clarify that we did have those discussions, and I know Luigi was correct that they'd have to go back to their management, and I can tell you that there seemed to be a lack of a desire to do much more other than what we'd already reached. So I don't know that we would make it, but if it is the commission's desire to go back, we certainly will.
We have a motion to continue this to the first meeting in January and have Waste Management and our staff have further negotiations. We have a second. We have a second by Commissioner Moss. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Next and finally will be the public comment of any non-agenda related matters. And for the members of our public, if you desire to speak, I request you state your name and address. This will be limited to 3 minutes. If you have any additional comments exceeding 3 minutes, you can make an appointment with each and every one of us, and we'd be happy to discuss it. Welcome, ma'am.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Shanita Tate. I am a Public Affairs Specialist with the Small Business Administration of the United States, Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. I am here on behalf of the Small Business Administration just as a way of, in regards to the severe storms and flooding that took place in October 26th of 2025. Revere County was the primary county that sustained damage, but Indian River was also a part of that. And I'm here to explain, or to express that we still have Small Business Administration disaster loans available to your constituents in this area. The physical damage deadline is approaching. It will be January 6th of 2026. The economic injury the economic injury deadline is August 7th of 2026. So with that, in regards to that, benefits of disaster loans. The benefits of the disaster loans is we offer low fixed rate interest rates with terms up to 30 years. There are no payments up to 12 months, or no interest, I apologize. We offer up to $500,000 to cover damage of the primary residence. We offer residents up to $100,000 to replace personal property. This includes vehicles. Also, funding is available to build back better and protect against further disasters as far as mitigation. Also, if any of your constituents in this area have a disaster loan currently, and they've acquired that loan within the last 24 months, if they sustain any additional damage within this disaster, they can contact their loan officer and see if they can get it, the damages included for mitigation. They may qualify to get it refinanced and get additional funding for that mitigation. I appreciate your time today.
Yes, ma'am, thank you, and we appreciate what SBA does. We had an experience with them October 9th of last year with Hurricane Milton. And ma'am, if you'd be so kind to leave your information with our clerk.
I have. I appreciate your time. Happy holidays,
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas, and
Merry
thank you
Christmas
so
to
very
you.
much.
And Ms. Shanita, I will coordinate with our governmental affairs, our communications, to get this out, so, to get it posted, so we can.
Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you,
Take
Merry
care.
Christmas. Any further public comment? Welcome.
Hello there. Lisa Sinersky, Indian River County resident. I'm at 165 14th Avenue, South County. I'm here again to express my concerns about the potential of large data centers in Indian River County. The last time I brought this up, I do want to apologize for some information that I got wrong. I don't know why I had the town of Stewart in my mind, but this may seem random. It is not random. The state of Florida, along with the rest of our country, is not everybody, but we're fighting against these large data centers as technology, continues to grow. We have the potential for interest of large data centers to come to our county. I am about being proactive, preventative. So I'm here to express my concerns and ultimately ask for suggestions as to the next steps I can take as just a concerned citizen, an individual. I'm not a part of any organizations when it comes to this matter. So I'm asking if adopting an ordinance to restrict or potentially, in my opinion, which is what we should do, ban data centers altogether, or potentially restrict them for, I don't even want to say zoning and changing zoning laws. I don't think we should offer anybody to build something like that here. But anyhow, I'm ultimately looking for suggestions as to a community, the community to pass a memorandum. I don't know if that's something that I need to try to move forward with And, or how do I move forward with passing?
We would
An
certainly
ordinance.
be able to facilitate that, and we certainly appreciate it. You're in District 4, I'd be happy to meet with you.
Okay.
Specifically to talk about data centers and anything else. Commissioner Adams?
I was just going to say, at our legislative conference, there was a big presentation on data centers in Florida and the trends there.
Yeah.
There's also some legislation that may or may not be moving forward, so I would encourage you to reach out to your legislators, Representative Brackett and Senator Grawl, and express your concerns, because there may be some state statutes coming
Yeah,
down.
I agree, and I have definitely reached out to the two representatives. I just want the community to know that, as I mentioned last time, I got the town wrong, but St. Lucie County, our neighboring county, they just opposed a $13 billion project. It's a big deal. And West Palm Beach, West Palm County is also fighting a 200-acre data center as we speak. So it's not random, it's not something that's, not happening, it's happening. I work with animals for a living. Prevention is the key to the challenges there, so I'm about that in all aspects of life, prevention, proactive, and I don't want to be trying to correct something once it's already occurred.
Thank you.
So,
We
thank you.
appreciate your commitment to the community, and we can certainly reach out to you.
Yep, thank you much.
Any further comments from the public? Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jill Collinson. I am President of the Board of the Humane Society of Vero Beach and Indian River County. I had hoped to be here when you were approving the extension to the memorandum of understanding because I had a question regarding the budget process on that. One of the slides that was presented back in the final budget process was a quasi-nonprofit organization slide, at which point the Humane Society was offered a 10% increase, and we assumed that was what it was. Now, the memo of understanding is $4,000, approximately $4,000 short each month from what your budget approved versus what the memo of understanding has. And we didn't figure that out till after the fact, unfortunately. So I don't know what the way to correct that is, or whether or not they actually held it back for a reason that they thought they would use in the future.
Right.
I'm just bringing it up.
Yes, ma'am, we appreciate that. I see the county administrator wants to discuss this and perhaps a meeting between the two
I was going to say,
parties.
maybe we can meet because actually the budget amount was reduced. But we can meet and if necessary, we can bring an amendment back.
We supposedly, and I say the word supposedly because we've heard from some members of animal control, but not others, that we might be getting over 30 dogs in tomorrow of large breed dogs. That in itself is a lot.
Yeah.
Additionally, it's going to be a court case, which means it could be that we have to hold them from anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. And that, again, is a lot. So by you reducing, or by us not getting our full allotment, we're going to be in big trouble. And you may say, well, you've got a new animal control thing. They're not going to be ready for a year.
So Dave Johnson and I will get in touch with you. We'll get this resolved.
Okay, we tried to have a meeting before, but it was not allowed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that, and in the future, we can get you on the agenda versus being under public comments, but I trust that the administrator will be
Yeah,
reaching out to you.
I'm fine with that.
We thank you very much.
Thank you.
I like your vest. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to all of you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public? Commissioners, I wish each and every one of you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas to all.
This meeting is adjourned.